So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show number 85. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It's Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I'm really excited about talking with the gentleman, Scott Royal Smith of Royal Legal Solutions. I am very fired up about this because not only does he work with family offices, but his wheelhouse is asset protection and keeping the empires that we're all building safe from the likelihood of lawsuits and all of those other sundry things. So Scott, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited and looking forward to this conversation. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's really great to be here. I'm an open book, and I'm always notorious for the guy that gives away all the secrets for free of everything I've learned and know. So I'm happy to share today.
Right on. Yeah, I always tell people I'm a cheap date. You know, I'll tell you everything I know for over 30 minutes and a cup of coffee, and most of the time I'll buy the coffee. So why not, right?
That's pretty sweet. I'll go on that date.
Yeah, cool, man. All right. So we're on it. So Scott, for those of us, I've been paying attention to you on LinkedIn mostly, but I know you're active on social media throughout. For the folks out there that don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living?
Yeah. So I'm an attorney and real estate investor and entrepreneur. And I actually started when I was in law school. I bought my first transmission and auto repair shop for $10,000 in back taxes. Wow. And then flipped the business and the building to be able to graduate from law school without debt.
Wow.
I was suing insurance companies as a litigator after I graduated from law school, but I kept buying real estate, and I was actually making more money in real estate than I was law. So I left law, just built real estate. And I was on the dream that everybody was on, which was if I could create this passive income, then I would finally have the life that I wanted. I realize now in reflection, the game I was really playing was, can I get the outside world situated in such a way that people will tell me that I'll finally feel okay on inside. I'll feel safe. I can go live the life I want. I'll feel excited about things, like this dream lifestyle that I kept hearing about.
Right.
And what I found out was, nope, it's not just the money, because after I got the money in from the real estate, then I had to figure out, okay, well, how do I protect it from lawsuits? How do I maybe custodian to make sure this is going to get passed to my family if anything happens to me appropriately? Right. How do I save money on the taxes? What am I going to do for my future deals? Because the more properties I was acquiring, well, it took a ton of time to acquire new properties, and it took a ton of time to be able to manage all of those properties, even when I had property managers that were in place. So I was like, I'm really just in a place of golden handcuffs. So I took a full year and just studied into how do these types of wealth companies work, right? Which are people call family offices, but I can't hire a family office. I don't have $50 million to be able to be in the right bracket for that. Right. My net worth at that time was, about, 500, 750K. Right. So I was like, great, let's just go ahead then, and I'll just start to build one. So, I was an attorney, so I was like, great, I can learn all the asset protection pieces, and then here's the tax pieces, and I slowly built a team. And that's when I finally created it for myself. So great, I have a team now that manages all of the pieces for me. And inside of building that team, other real estate investors started to ask me for help. Could they have the same thing I did? So that's great. I need help with all of the back end. I know how to acquire properties, but what about all the other stuff? And how do I hold assets anonymously and protect them? And the whole gamut down. And that's what Royal Legal Solutions is built on. We're a team of about 30 people, CPAs, MBAs, attorneys, investment advisors, work with investors in all 50 states, and just help people with soup to nuts, either on one part of what they might need. And some people want to come in and say, no, I really just want everything done for me because I want to spend more time with my family, pursue hobbies, or whatever the case may be. And that's what we're able to deliver for them.
So you're basically in the business of creating family offices for investors. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, you could think of at its maximum utility. If you used everything that we did, essentially it would be something I'd call a fractional family office. Okay. So we can actually do everything for you.
That's amazing.
to manage all of your corporate structuring that needs to be, all of the tax strategy, filing the tax returns, what are new syndication investments that are going to pay you great returns and great tax benefits, what kinds of deals do you need to get into to reach the cash flow and net worth goals that you have set aside. And ultimately, our clients that come in for the full boat, of things that we do, get down to a life where money only takes about an hour a month of their time.
Wow.
And so they just show up for one hour meeting a month, and the rest of the time they're just living. And it's wild to see what happens when you get that much time and that low stress.
Right. I wouldn't even know what to do. That's
the thing. Right, then what's left is living.
Right.
Living alone is actually like a whole nother puzzle of like, what is it that I really like to do?
An adventure. Yeah. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a close friend of mine not that long ago, and he was asking, hey, at what point are you going to retire? I said, retire? Why would I retire? I enjoy what I'm doing. I like going to the office. I like doing deals. I like, working with people but the life you just described, 1 hour a month, that's a whole lot of golfing and fishing and hanging out.
You don't have to stop working either, though, right?
And, that's an interesting point, right? And something we were talking about right before we hit record. So let's talk about that a little bit and unpack it. When you're talking about, I'm always espousing. I'm a guy who got out of the rat race at 47, 48 years old, and I've been living the life of freedom for the past 5 years, and it's wonderful. I love the fact that I don't have a boss, and I can go to my daughter's softball game or go see my oldest daughter in Philly, or something like that. But there is something enticing. I'm from a balance perspective, I work way more than I play.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
The deal is that, like, just because you're free doesn't mean you have to go do anything.
Right.
Like, true freedom is just deciding. And it doesn't matter what you decide.
Right.
What matters is you're deciding. Right. You might decide to continue to work, to build your companies, to do those things. It's not important what we do in life. What's important is the place we do it from. Because it could be that whatever is the most desirous thing for you, that brings you the most joy and fulfillment in your life, when you wake up in the morning and you make that decision of what do I want to experience today, could be working and making money. I know guys that do this. They just love running the businesses. They love the scoreboard of making money and the game of it and how that all works. For the vast majority of us, though, what we're really looking at is saying, well, money actually represents pain. It represents pain of going to a job, the pain of having to find new deals, the pain of thinking what's the right corporate structure, the pain of thinking about taxes. Right. And it turns into this huge pain center for us. And what I've created, really, I created this whole company for myself because I wanted to be able to get to this place of just saying, can I wake up in the morning and then I make decisions about what is it that I want to experience today? And it's a wild difference in lifestyle once you get there. And now I get the pleasure of being able to come on podcasts to be able to say, listen, I've built this. You can actually have it too. And in fact, we'll make you the CEO of a wealth building company that we build and manage for you and that you oversee in 1 hour a month. And that's all you have to do. And from there, just make decisions. If you want to make more money, that's fantastic. I'd love to talk to you about how you can go make more money and go take over the world and build an empire. Right. If it's like, hey, I want to build this life with my family, or fun and adventure, or I want to build more of my charitable giving into those things, great. Awesome. Come to the group coaching. Let's talk about that, because that's what my people are doing. The people that come to our weekly group coaching, like, this is the life that they've been able to set themselves on. And everybody's at a different place, right? You don't get there snapping your fingers, right? For most people, but there's an appropriate place to start for everybody at the beginning.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what does your, first level customer or client, what does that person look like? In terms of investment experience, in terms of assets, in terms of, companies and all that. Yeah.
So the important piece to remember is that this is a journey, right? You're on a journey right now, and there's no quick fixes to the journey, right? But there is a huge difference between knowing that you're on a path that somebody else has walked before, right? Myself, that's built a company around it and now has successfully walked a bunch of other people through this path. Right. What that means is that wherever you're at, like cool, I got my first single family home, and now I'm thinking, okay, do I need asset protection? Do I need an LLC? Should I have an estate plan? Is there things I should be doing for my tax? All the way from somebody that has just their one property, their single family home, or their 4-unit apartment, or their first apartment complex. They're at the very beginning of this path, right?
Yeah.
And to all the people that are at the end, they're accredited investors and high-level accredited investors. Then the thing that happens is we say, great, come in. We have a full vault where I have all the educational materials, 80 books, hundreds of hours of videos, all organized by topic. Get direct access to the staff by entering in that vault. You pay nothing for it. You can interact with my team. My team will walk you through, like, here's how we actually can give you a look under the hood of exactly what we would do. All the way from the diagrams of the asset protection to here's what you should expect with like a 90% accuracy of how much money you should save on taxes, the types of investments you could be getting into through like syndications that will help you place money safely, and get great returns, great tax benefits that off of them. And then holistically, this is how you manage everything. Lay it all out for you. Like, here's how it works. And if it all makes sense, then you can pay us to go build all of it. Right. And do it. So the deal is, I say people, I was like, it doesn't matter where you're at. Just get around the people that have whatever it is you want in life. Get around the people that already have what you want, that are teaching on it, and have a community of people that are saying this is successful. Yeah. Like, that's the way you should have confidence and whatever it is you want to achieve in life, is find those people. I just happen to be that guy for wealth.
Right. And your network is your net worth, right? I mean, how many times have you heard that? So
100%, right? Because all you have to do is copy the people that have already done it. Like, life can't be any more simple than that. Right.
And legend has it, Steve Jobs. So I'm a retired techie, right? Or a former techie. I don't know that I'm retired. Legend has it that Steve Jobs had a Post-it note on his mirror every morning that asked the same question, which was, are you excited about what you're going to do today? And, what you're talking about here is exactly that, right? Having that freedom, true freedom, right? If I didn't come into the office today, my business would still work, right? But I don't know that I could take a year off without paying attention to it more than an hour a week. So, the interesting part is, you wake up in the morning, you challenge yourself, and are you excited about what you're about to go do as you're brushing your teeth or shaving or whatever? And, most days I say, absolutely. There are days where I'm like, I wish I didn't have to go to the office today. But those are very, in all honesty, but those are very few and far between, fortunately. But, at some point that may not be the case. And so, when you talk about, it sounds like almost a menu of items that you can provide to an investor. And like you said, it's a journey. So how do you know where, that vault seems enormous, voluminous, and potentially overwhelming. So, let's use me, for instance, right? So I have a portfolio of properties in excess of 100 units. And, we've been cash flow positive for several years now. And I'm, hypothetically looking to dial it back a little bit in terms of my day-to-day direct management. And I want to focus on, growing the portfolio, not necessarily running the business. So how would you approach somebody like me?
Yeah. So take the hypotheticals, like how we get Ed down to like 1 hour a month, right? Because that's like, hey, I totally want to do something totally different. Yeah.
Sign me up, brother.
How do we do it? Right. Here's the basics how we do it. So the vault has access to all the materials, right? It's all publicly accessible. But the first thing you do is you need to talk to somebody that tells you like, what is the things you actually need to study? Because there's so much stuff to study out there. Like, how many times do we listen to like podcasts and webinars and all this? And we're like, okay, I got like a nugget here and there. Right. The first step we do is say, no, Ed, this is the stuff you need to study. You need to learn about how the asset protection structures work, what the LLCs, how do they tree up? Why does that provide you protection? And what do you need to do? Because you got to save money by protecting yourself from lawsuits, because lawsuits in this country, it's a start over button, that can happen anytime, and everybody lies. So there's no way to protect yourself besides use legal shields like in place. Right. And so then I said, great, now it's protected from lawsuits. Now we need to protect you from taxes. So we look at it and say, cool, what's the most aggressive we can be between our CPAs and tax attorneys? Come in and say, how aggressive can we be on any of these write-offs that we have, right? Deductions. And then we say, great. After the deductions, then we're looking to say, well, what kind of tax shelter vehicles can we use? Can we save like 30% from taxes by just using private foundations, like the Augusta rule? And we use other pieces that are like that. These legal tax shelter vehicles that wealthy people know how to use, that we help people use. And what that does is it says, great, now we've protected as much money as we can. We got all the write-offs in, we got all the money protected in the appropriate tax shelter vehicles. I still have this amount of tax liability. It's probably about 2/3 of what it was before, just because of the work we did. So we've already saved a bunch of money on taxes from there. And then we look at it and say, well, great. Our last ditch effort for tax savings is why we love real estate and why we love like different types of machinery investments. Mm-hmm. Because whether you're a W-2 earner or 1099, it doesn't matter. There's appropriate investments out there that you can take depreciation, apply it against your income. And that's how we drive that tax level down to zero, or close to zero as we can get. Mm-hmm. And so then now we've played the game, right? We played the game of we've saved all the money on taxes. We have the appropriate investments that give us high returns, and that those investments are also going to give us tax benefits to drive into single digit tax numbers in almost all cases. And over time, we can usually get that number down to zero. And then the game comes in to say, well, what about my next investment? That's the thing that steals our time, right? So you're always going to have, or almost, I should say, if you're an elite investor, you're always going to be able to make more money by managing and finding your own deals, because you understand the marketing aspect that it takes to be able to find truly exceptional deals. Exactly. Very few people are in that bracket, right? Most people are, get much better returns. Their average client comes in, tells me that they're looking for returns of 10 to 12. We're usually able to get people in the 20+% returns with tax benefits on top of that, through the syndication offerings that we have. So then it's like, great, here's the menu of syndication offerings between oil and gas investments, real estate, et cetera. And all we have to do then is say, Ed, what kind of lifestyle and net worth do you want? Or how much cash flow do you need? How do you want your net worth to appreciate over time? And then we look at what the syndication deals that we have are and say, how much money do we need in each of these different deals that kick us off certain net worth goals, cash flow goals, and tax goals. And then it's just crunching numbers on the page. But the team does all of that crunching after you tell us the objectives. So when you show up into the next monthly meeting, say, here's the recommendations. You can either do this or you can do this. If you want higher lifestyle now, you'll do this. If you want more security because you want higher net worth and more lifestyle later, then you do this. And both of these are going to drive to the tax advantages that we want. And then you just simply make decisions. So you say, great, I want to review it, and then we'll place it next month. So we have a continual deal pipeline so that as any deal exits, like after it has a 4 or 5 year exit time, then all of a sudden we already have new deals coming in. But by the way, you're never like not on top of it, because you've already put in the hour each month to review whatever the next deals are. You meet once a year with your attorney to ensure all of your estate planning and other things are handled for you. Inside of that hour-long monthly meeting, you're also talking about any tax things are coming up. So now your tax and investing is constantly covered. And if you have any questions at any time, you simply email into our paralegal team, which escalates it up to the appropriate person. 95% of the questions they already know the answers to, and you get next day responses. So you're now in this ecosystem where your life is, I have continual support within 24 hours. I have scheduled meetings to make sure everything in my life is running correctly on an annual basis and on a monthly basis. I know that I'm on top of every possible tax advantage and investment advantage I could be taking. And it only takes me an hour a month that comes into it. Now you're free.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
I am blown away by how simple it is. I know how straightforward it is. I know it's not simple. So in terms of, you use the term fractional family office. So can you tell me a little bit more about that in terms of, I'm intrigued to the point where we're going to have a conversation after we're done recording. Let's say I'm at a portfolio value of $10 million and I need, I don't know, $20,000 a month to live, hypothetically, right? And I'm looking to go to, I'm at, again, hypothetically 120 units, and I'm looking to go to 1,000 units by the end of 2025, right? And I've got this much capital and this much equity to go make that happen. So how do we engage? Like, where do you and I have that conversation first?
Yeah. So the big pieces of it's important to remember is the why, right? So I had conversations with billionaires, and the conversations I had with billionaires about their money back, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago into it, was that I was asking them, I was like, well, what is this actually like? It must be amazing being a billionaire, right? You just get to do it everyone all the time. They're like, no, man, it takes me 20 hours a week to manage all the nonprofit stuff that I'm doing, what's all happening with all my attorneys and tax advisors. Right. And I was like, oh, right. Because you have a bunch of stuff you're responsible for now. And now you're having to self-manage all of these things, right, that come into it, right? There's nobody that's actually streamlining everything for you. You don't have a quarterback that screens you. Like CEOs, they have COOs. Right. And the COOs screen out all of the stuff. So CEOs just make decisions. Right. The COO is the one that gets hammered. So the billionaires are like trying to figure it out. These people that have full-blown net family offices, that's what everybody's trying to create, is who can streamline all of the things so that way I can just be a CEO. Right. So that's the big difference, right? When I say it's a fractional family office, it's because we can serve people that are at the very beginning of the journey and at an appropriate place, typically around the time that they're making over $200,000 a year, over $1 million plus net worth, then it makes sense to say, cool, I actually want you to take over all of these things for me, Scott, and make this whole thing happen, right? So it's not at any huge net worth levels anymore it's dollar justified. You'll actually make more money in almost all cases by using the efficiencies of a pre-built team where everything is already done in-house. It's just efficiencies. Everything else is just inefficient on time and money because of how the economics of things work. But what we would do, Ed, is like in your case, right? We're going to sit down. What's the list of all the assets? What is our cash flow needs, net worth needs? And let's look at your prior 2 years tax returns, see what you're currently paying in taxes, right? If anything, right, that comes into it. Yeah, that's where you're at now. Where do you want to get to? Okay, I want it to work like this. And he says, great. What do you have inside of your current portfolio? How's it working for you? And we make a plan that says, do you want to keep managing and self-managing all that? Do you already have existing teams and your own COO that runs all that for you to protect you from your time? You might want to keep that. Right. It might be one of those things that say, there's 50% of my portfolio that's dogs. It takes up a bunch of my time. Right. Well, let's exit that stuff and then put it into syndications, which will take none of your time. Right. But syndication deals where we're getting in pooled investments with tons of people at one time. So we're able to negotiate much better rates than just a retail investor coming into it. Right. That we have high level investors of a number of people before any deal gets entered into. So you have this thing called like pooled underwriting that happens because of Investor Club. My team and myself are looking over the investments. We're placing our own money into these deals as well too. So there's personal buy-in that happens inside of whatever's happening here, right? So we're always trying to instill levels of confidence into, where is money actually safe and performing well, and how do we get there? And so that's like the nuts and bolts of it, right? Is you typically, if you're already kind of built out like you are, Ed, you don't just like burn everything to the ground and then be like, cool, we're going to do all of this inside of 6 weeks, right?
Here's my keys, Scott. It's all yours, right?
We just go, cool, what makes sense for us to chunk in over time? Right. Because honestly, there's this other thing that happens, which is we emotionally have to move ourselves into a different place. Because now we're saying like Ed has been responsible for Ed, and Ed probably believes inside of himself, everything works okay if I'm looking at it. and that I know all of it. So now Ed has to say, how do I get to a place where I can trust what's happening? Because with the trust, I can have time freedom, emotional freedom, and space, mental space.
Yep.
I go into it. Without trust, my mind is constantly going to be worried.
Right.
So then we have to work on like this type of like relationship, regardless of how good it is how well can we transition over? And that's why I say it's a journey. We're talking about financial journeys. You're talking about asset journeys. You're talking about personal journeys of shifting. But on the other side of that journey is the utopia of like, what is life really can be like into it. And that's why I created this company for myself. It's because I was like, I am obsessed with that life, whatever that life is. And it doesn't look like anybody else is able to get there. So I have to go create a company to get it for myself.
You know, it's the most successful entrepreneurs that I've met over the years, you know, technology and here in real estate and elsewhere. I'd say the huge majority of them come from a place that you just described. And that is, I, as a business person, have a problem. I don't see out in the landscape a solution, so I'm going to create a solution. And then you create the solution and all the systems to go with it and the team to run it and everything else. And then you realize, I'm not the only person that needs this. And then you start to allow other people into the ecosystem. And pretty soon you've got another business that you never even really expected, which is, offering the solution that you built for yourself to other people. Right.
Yeah. That's right. Cool. Right. I mean, all these are essentially like individual things. Like some people come in and say, hey, I just want asset protection. I just want tax. I just want estate planning.
Yeah.
Great. That's where they're at in the journey. Yeah. Right. But I think it's beautiful to be able to have a place that you can come to. It's a single point of contact. Everything's in-house, has all the education there. You get to interact with them for free, help you get educated. And then you just chunk through the journey in the appropriate way on a path that you know has this kind of endpoint. Yeah. Right. Because I haven't heard anybody else out there ever say that this other endpoint's possible into it. I don't know of any other company or any other CEO or any other person out there that says you can actually get here and there's a way to get here and I've done it.
Yeah. And here is the map right here.
Yeah. Got a map. Right. All you got to do is start getting educated. Yeah. Just come and start getting educated and you'll develop the trust and the confidence of like, okay, what's possible.
Yeah. And, the interesting part about it, the really interesting part that I'm kind of fixated on is, your service, your capability is a bunch of levers, right? And you turn them on, turn them off as you need them, right? Or turn them on when you need them. And, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can be very, you can start with, I've got one problem and it's, asset management. And I need to make sure that I've got my, that I'm doing it right. And estate planning, that I've got it protected and what ifs are all handled and all that. So this is I'm fascinated by you and your company. It's really impressive. So let me ask you something. Along the way, and as you said, it was a journey. It's a journey. I'm sure you've had mentors and coaches and folks that have given you advice. And so I'm curious. What is the best advice you've ever gotten and who gave it to you?
Really the best advice I ever got is the one that I gave earlier, which is from my godfather. He actually built this company called Frames Direct, and it was the very first eyeglass company online ever.
Okay.
Right. And the advice that he gave me, which was funny, right, at the time, because he's in a total blue water space with the internet just coming available, whatever. But he always hammered with, he's like, it doesn't matter whatever you want in life. Just find the people that already have it, go hang out with them and listen.
Yep.
And they'll just tell you how to get there and just do whatever they say. Yep. Once you can master everything that they told you about what to do, then you can start to be creative. Right. But until you master it, just do exactly what they tell you to do. And I've wasted millions of dollars and years of my life thinking I was smarter than other people.
Same.
And so it's a humbling place to be, to be like, okay, I'm just going to live this principle now. Living in that principle, for me, what it's done is actually makes life smooth. It imagine how much, if you ever go on vacation for extended period of time,
sure,
and then you realize that all the stuff that I'm doing back home, I actually just didn't need to do it all. It's just about where it was going to be anyway.
Right.
And I was able to just kind of, right. If you've ever had this experience, to me, when I want to reflect on that experience, it actually means like, oh, most of the stuff I'm thinking I need to do or say to people or emails I need to write or whatever, just actually doesn't need to happen at all.
Right.
But
or
I'm addicted.
It's already handled because somebody else picked up the ball.
Some other way it was going to get resolved, right? Besides me needing to go do more, right? And what I'm a continual advocate for is like, right, this is why it makes sense, is because if I just do what other people told me to do, that I've already walked the path and they already have the thing that is I want, and they've already helped other people be able to get there already, then what that means is now I don't have to go do a bunch of stuff.
Right.
That means like the things I think I need to do just don't need to happen.
Right.
Like I don't have to do them. They might need to happen, but somebody else is going to take care of it. So what does this mean? It means now you just have a ton of free time.
Right.
And a ton of free mental space. And with that, this is when living starts. Like I can't emphasize that. This is when living starts. Until then, we're not living.
No.
All we're doing is running from one thing to the next thing to keep our minds busy because we're afraid of what's going to happen if we stop.
So true. So true. So, you're obviously, I have this theory that leaders are readers, right? And, you're obviously highly accomplished. And I suspect, given your background in law, that you're a reader. So, I'm curious, but reading these days doesn't necessarily mean a tactile book, right? It's not, picking up a book and reading it. It can be audiobooks, it can be podcasts, it can be videos on YouTube or wherever else. I'm curious, how do you take in information that you use in your day to day? And also I'm really curious about who you're paying attention to these days.
So it's super varied, right? Of
Sure.
like who I'm going to be listening to. It depends upon what I'm doing at the time. So if I'm really deep into a particular project, like, hey, I want to learn like a new sales process because maybe my beliefs just shifted about what sales should be. Like currently my belief around sales is that the marketing end of what we should do should be educating people about what a new opportunity is, like
Right.
this.
Right.
Are you interested in like what this kind of journey is like? Are you interested in what kind of free education materials we have? And then great. That's the part where people come to the place that says, I might consider doing something now. And to me, that's when a sales process would start.
Sure.
The sales process, what I'm actually doing is I'm trying to help you clarify anything you might have misunderstood and then help you through the emotional hurdles that you have inside of yourself to be able to do something different.
Right.
And that's what I was like, cool. I now have a different belief about like what sales is. And now I have to go find books or find people that says that this thing is possible because
Right.
I feel it inside of myself that that's actually true. Right.
I agree.
So some parts of my life are trying to really focus on, can I find out what I really believe is true? And that comes from any types of things. Like it comes from meditation, journaling, reading spiritual books, sitting alone, hiking in nature.
Yep.
And it's getting still enough to say, what do I think is really true here? And then after I find it's like, I think this is what I think is true about this area of my life. And business is your life, right? It is an extension of you. There is no difference between life and business. It's all just life. It's life in a different expression.
Yep.
So if this is what's true for me about how I'm going to help people here through the sales process, then I want to go out there and find, okay, what's the technical ways in which people that have this kind of belief have already created a process to have that kind of conversation in the right kind of way. And I just mimic what they do.
You just model it. Right. Exactly. It's interesting because I think the internet played a huge role in this, right? In that if you go buy a car or you want to buy a car and your first move, I don't know anybody that, the next move is go to the dealership and drive a car, right? The next move is talking to their friends about, the dealerships in the area, getting on the internet and doing homework and, watching videos and, basically doing your shopping. The sales process is really a marketing process. And by the time I get to the dealership, I already know what car I want, what color it's going to be, how much I want to pay for it. And I'll talk to you and I'll listen, but this is the deal I want. Right. And I'm fully formed when I'm walking in the door of that dealership. And I wholeheartly agree that, sales process these days is all about education, right? It's all about, this is the journey I was on. This is how I got here. Here are the intricate pieces of strategy that I used. Here are the tactics underneath those strategies. If they resonate, give me a call and I'll share everything with you. Right?
100%. That's why everything we do now is geared towards get educated inside of like the vault. Talk to us. We'll help you get point on what you need to get educated. Then our sales process is here's a look under the hood. Here's how everything will work. That's all the technical execution of whatever you learned about how it's going to apply to your situation. And how do we go through like that?
I mean, it's
under the hood piece of it.
Yeah, right on. I mean, it's, you know, the fact that somebody could go in and look at it and go, I can do this myself. Well, maybe not, probably not. But, you know, it's the do it myself versus done for you model, right? And a lot of service providers sell both. The fact that you provide the research and all the, you know, the blocking and tackling and what needs to happen is really, I think it's amazing. And I think it's, you know, I'm sure you've helped a whole lot of people figure out what the next stage of their life looks like by doing this. So congratulations for that.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So let me ask you now, you're, you know, 15 years or so into this journey for yourself. If you had to start over, what would you do different?
I would have just stuck to the basics.
Yeah.
Like of everything, right? I thought that like life was going to get better if I was super creative and worked really hard. Like I was going to like whatever. What I didn't realize until I got years into it was that really all you have to do to be amazing, right? To create a one of a kind thing is you don't have to reinvent any one wheel, right. Of it. That's not how you really win. How you really win in life is finding out what is exactly you want. This is hard. Most of us struggle with really getting something really true. I will say, what do you want? And it's a reflex of like, well, I want to be a billionaire. Like, what the hell does that even mean?
Right.
You don't even know what that even like means. You have no idea how much $1 billion is. You have no idea what it's like to manage $1 billion. You just heard billionaires are cool. And you say you want that now. Like, no, like get still with what it is you really want. Right. And then once you find out what it is that you really want, and then it's just do the basic building blocks. It's going to be a system of things you have to do to be able to get there. And if you just get really good at all of like, okay, cool, here's all the building blocks for us, like it's wealth, right? So I need to know the asset protection. I need to know the estate planning. I need to know the tax. I need to know the investment strategy. And then I need a team to be able to manage it. Because what I really want is ultimate time and freedom in a bulletproof way that says, once I'm free, I never go back into whatever is the matrix of that game, right? Because once you're out, you're never going to want to go back. You're gonna be like, this is a crazy place I used to live, and I can't believe I used to do it, right? Into it, because life is so much better now. And if you just get really good, like just do best practices, right? Just best practices in each area, then you find out how they all work together. Now you have a super product, or you have a super service, or you have a super leverage in your life. And it doesn't take you having to be anything exceptional. Best practices only means you're in the top 10%. Well, holy smokes. How many times in your life, if you put your mind to something that you couldn't get to the top 10% of whatever that field of study was into it? So you can either spend the time like I did to have to learn all of the disciplines and then figure out how they all have to work together and all of the spreadsheets and the diagramming, the teams and how all that has to happen. Anybody is able to do that.
Sure. Or
all I'm offering is to say, like, that's what I wish I would have known earlier on in life, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to do anything truly like I'm going to be an Olympic gold medalist in this one discipline. And that's how I'm going to win. Because that's really hard. And not very many people can do it, but everybody can do this thing.
You know, it's one of the things that I always appreciated about my past life in the software and consulting world. And it's the same thing with a book, right? I mean, any book you read, nonfiction that is, you know, is basically boiling down the last 5 to 10 years of that author's life and all the things that went right and all the things that, you know, the mistakes that they made and how they fixed it. And, you know, the goal of most nonfiction books is to compress that time to the time it takes you to read the book, to skip those 10 years and land at the other end of those 10 years. And I think, you know, what you're talking about is exactly the same thing, right? You know, the service provider, the consultant, the person who runs, a fractional family office offering, they're compressing time so you can leapfrog all of the things that they already learned. And
you take it from like 10 years to 6 weeks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's
It's
exactly
all
right.
about time compression.
Yeah. And then with the time compression, you get money expansion, right? Because then you get to ask yourself a different question. It's like, do I want more money now? Do I need more money now? And if I do, then I have all of this extra resource called time and energy that I can then convert into more money.
Or
want to
do something else, right?
Which is what I advocate, which is we probably actually already have enough money in most circumstances for most people.
Right.
You find that, like, if my experience has been is that once we can get really clear on like what it is I want, then that gets translated to a dollar figure of how much money do I really need? Typically, that's actually just your current lifestyle.
Yep.
And then it says, great, how can we what's the investment portfolio that gets you there? And what's your gap, if any? So most of the people we talk to, especially if they're like doctors or high W-2 income earners, or accredited investors, what we find is that no, your timeline of freedom isn't 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. It's 3 years. And all you got to do is this, just keep hitting the base hits in life and just be more strategic because the efficiencies are there.
Right. Yeah, right on, man. So it's amazing. And so I'm curious. I'm always interested to know, when you're not talking about real estate and, your world, your business world, what do you like to do outside of it?
Yeah, man. For me, that's where living starts into it, right? So like, this is where I love to invite people out to my homes, either like in Texas or Utah or Washington, especially people that are like investors, because like really all the people that have investors that were coming in for this kind of thinking.
Sure.
Everybody's kind of agreed that says, I'm really curious about what's the highest level of living I can get to.
Right.
And then what I enjoy doing is curating experiences. So I'll find out like where are the places in the world I like to go to. And can we be out in Utah and take them like canyoneering and hiking, going on boats and Can-Ams and be like, this is actually what living can look like. And let's get in, like, do other stuff in the evening. Like we could get into like doing painting or drum circles or by the fire or being out on the desert, or doing kind of like whatever is alive for the people in the group. Because the reality is like, in my mind, that's actually what we were meant to do, is to go out and have fun and be around people that are interested in saying, how can I have the most, not like, cocaine and tequila fun in Vegas, but like just this like wholesome togetherness of sharing of like life experience. That's just beautiful. It's all around us. And so that's what I like to do. I like to go out and do all of that stuff. And then I like to pull people together and be like, hey, come do this with me. And then the business pays for all of it. Right. Because the business, that's the purpose of the business. The purpose of the business is to make money so we can then go live together with the people we want to go live with.
Right. That's amazing. I'm blown away. So, Scott, if somebody wants to learn more about your practice or how to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, best is just go to royallegalsolutions.com. There's a video that we have right there on the homepage. The video takes about like 30 minutes to walk through, but it walks through the things in much more detail. For those of you who are like, oh, how does it actually work, right? What are the actual steps in all of the processes? And then show me the spreadsheets of where does all this savings happen and blah, blah, blah. Like all that's going to happen there in the video, and then schedule a time immediately to book with the team, because the team's going to help you figure out, okay, what's the gaps you have in the education, and help you get into the vault, find out exactly what you need to study. And we never take any money from you just to be able to get that piece of it. Right. The only money that we ever ask for is when you're actually asking us to build things for you. Right. The idea here is just go to royallegalsolutions.com, connect with the team, start getting educated, figure out where you're at on the journey, what the next steps in the journey are going to be like. Like, great. Does it all make sense? If it all makes sense, then great. Let's start on a process of dialing in an exact plan, of it. So it's just royallegalsolutions.com and everything kicks off from there.
Awesome. Well, Scott Smith, thank you so much for your time today. It was really a pleasure. I'm honestly blown away by both your perspective on life and also the service that you've created. And like I said, as soon as I hit stop on the recording button, we're going to have a conversation. So,
my man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast, a Clark Street Capital presentation. Thanks for joining us. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends. If you'd like to learn more about Clark Street Capital and our upcoming projects, please join our investor club at clarkst.com/join. Until next time, happy investing. This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.